We've got two really good deals of the month this month. Our very first one is from a beginner. He's been a CFRI member for 2 years, so this is his first deal. So please welcome to the stage, Brad Uricchio. Oh, did you have pictures you wanted to give?
Well, you know, I printed them for an overhead projector more than for an overhead camera, but they may or may not come through. Let's see. I don't know if it'll shine.
Yep, it works.
A little upside down. Upside down. There you go. So anyway, this was a 3-1 home in central Orlando that had been sort of converted by a previous owner into a borderline 4-1 home, and across the street from some Section 8 housing. It was an REO, and I, in the novice of our business, was really just going through REO listings. I have a regular job, not a lot of time to be calling on bandit signs, checking up on all kinds of fancy deals, and I just, in my evenings, would go through listings and try to crank out some numbers and come up with things that look like they could be a good buy. So we found this house, 1954, originally built, and picked it. It had been on the market about 60-something days, and after having been outbid on about 10 homes in a row, we finally just figured we could come something close to their asking price. It was listing for $77,000. We picked it up for $75,000, and started in on some rehabbing. And I have a project manager who did a lot of the work or supervising of the work. And there were some problems. I mean, it had a bad roof that had to be redone. So that gives you some idea of what it looked like in the very beginning. And then as they finished some of the roof repair, and then after we got the soffits replaced and got things painted and so forth, there was a total... While we had considered a 3-2 redo, some cost problems pretty much prevented us from doing that. We gutted and redid the bathroom that was there. In the top corner, you can see it was sort of a classic 1950s style with a 2-inch mosaic blue tile floor and just some old things going on. We had it totally gutted out and redid it, put in some new fixtures, a double vanity, etc. Well then, and here's basically the numbers. There we go. So we started off with a purchase price, $75,000. I guess one thing quickly to talk about is how we financed this, and that was a problem for me to figure out how I was going to do that. Fern Burr was nice enough to consider us for a hard money loan, but after I worked out the numbers of what that would do to our profit margin, I decided not to go that route. And I had a brokerage account, some stocks and mutual funds and so forth, and I was able to create or change that into a margin account that I could borrow against, so the stocks and mutual funds acting as collateral to that. And so we paid for it that way, but I had to pay interest on that, not too bad, something around 6.25% or so. We had some holding costs, as you can see. We originally planned on 3 to 4 month rehab and a couple months to sell. It turned into 9 months of rehab and about 24 hours to sell.
9 months.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, we just we didn't have all of our contractors pulled together before we started. We got all the way through the roof repair and then contacted the architect about drawing up some plans, Steve Cold, who may or may not be here tonight, drawing up some plans for how we might redo the 3-2, then started talking to general contractors about how that would happen, then realizing that we were going to get into cost overruns, et cetera. So there were just a lot of things, and then as we got further into it, we weren't sure if we were staying to our cost projections and started doing a lot of DIY in an effort to try to hold back. I'm not sure we actually...
DIY is do it yourself,
do it
right?
yourself, and a lot of that was Cheyenne doing it himself. You saw him in a picture there in the painting. But he, in the end, I'm not sure how much we actually saved on that because it took a lot longer. So we may not really have saved as much money as we hoped. I took out his cost as project manager as a separate thing, just because not everybody may use a project manager, but you can see it did cost a little bit of money. Our rehab costs, we'd originally projected about $25,000. You can see how we did some overruns, but hey, we're newbies. This is our first time out. And at closing, some very impressive commissions to the realtors. We did some concessions back to the buyer for a couple of different things to make it all happen. But in the end, I had shot for an ARV of about $140,000. As you can see, our total investment was very close to that. And then just the market being the way it is today, our original asking price when we put it on the market was $159.9, and we got a bid for $165. And
How long did it take you to sell it once you put it on the market?
literally 24 hours. We put it on the market on a Thursday afternoon, and by Friday morning, we had an offer at our sales price. We told that person's realtor that there were other people who had made appointments to come see the house on Saturday, so we wanted at least the weekend to be able to show it. And by Monday, he was so convinced that he was dealing against multiple offers that he actually upped his offer to 160 from 159.9 to 165. So we said yes, okay. But some of the concessions that we made really almost came back down to asking price.
So you made money.
We did make money, and we were very happy about that. I went into this willing to even lose money, not wanting to lose money, but understanding that it was our first time out. We might not do so well. My estimates on costs and so forth were, my first try at this, and so to end up with a profit that we did was just way beyond our plans.
Now, you said the $75,000 came from, explain that again?
That was, their asking price was $77,000.
No, where you were able to fund it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How were you able to fund
again,
it?
so I had a brokerage account, some stocks and mutual funds and other investments, and I was able with my financial advisor to turn that into a margin account, so I could borrow against the account only up to a percentage of its total value, because heaven forbid if you default on the loan and if at the same time the stock market takes a big dip, they don't want to be able to.
So you used it as collateral. Your stocks used as collateral to fund it.
Collateral, and then borrowed against that to fund not only the purchase of the house but also the rehab costs and all that.
You said it was very competitive even getting it. You had to change your strategy in bidding on REOs.
We were bidding on REOs left and right and just kept getting outbid. And I was starting off with the old formula of 70% of ARV and subtract out your closing costs and your rehab costs, and you come up with your maximum offer. And that was all, it's a terrific formula, and I still believe in that. But there were a lot of homes, for example, just like this, 75,000, and when I went through all that math, you ended up with a figure of about 38,000. Well, there's no bank that was listening to that. So after getting outbid house after house after house, this was one of maybe a half dozen houses I had cranked some numbers on where I could see us being within a comfort zone to make a profit even if we offered something close to their asking price.
Okay.
And so I offered 75. They took it right away, which tells me I probably could have offered a little bit less. We had even considered the idea of then during our walkthrough coming back to them and saying, hey, we think it's going to need more rehab than we had planned on. We're going to back our offer down, but our realtor advised us we didn't want to get a reputation doing that. So
All right.
we just stuck with where we were and tried to stick to our rehab costs as closely as we could, and there we are.
Thank you. Any advice you'd give other newbies getting into this that you kind of learned?
Just get out there and do it.
Say that louder. I can't hear you.
Just get out there and do it. We got very close to being motivated buyers, which we didn't want to be, but at the same time I had been going to CFRI seminars and a couple of other seminars for probably just over a year, and realized I could sit and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and learn and talk and learn, but finally I just needed to get out there and try one and see how it went. And like I said, prepared for the idea that we might even lose money on the first time around. But
all right. Thank you, Brad. And in appreciation, we're giving you a certificate and a Home Depot coupon.